Hello, hello. It's Monday. What up, y'all? Lady Wake and Leo here. Back, in fact.
Here we go.
I know, right? Got some UNITY in the background.
90s flavor.
Huh?
We got some 90s flavor, you know what I'm saying?
90s flavor indeed. I'm going to turn down, though. We're going to get started, y'all. Some of you will be seeing this later, so we don't want to linger and prolong everything. So, welcome back. We're here every Monday at 8 p.m. I am Lady Wake. Lady Wake has a dual meaning. It is my name and represents awakening ladies to ourselves, for ourselves. And here in this forum, we basically give real life ideas of what development looks like, what healing looks like, what working on self looks like, and why that's important. And so in this season, we're doing a relationship series with my brother Leo to talk about, well, a variety of things. We started off talking about why we keep getting in messed up relationships, why relationships don't work. And of course, a lot of things came out of that. So last week, we left off Leo talking about timelines within
Timeline.
relationships, timelines in general. People, we go so many places with that. So, Leo, you want to pick up right
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I'll pick up. Good evening, everybody. We're back Monday already again. Good thing for the work week is that it's almost over and it's almost Tuesday. So to pick up on when we left off, talking about timelines, um, as in relation to relationships, it is one of the things that can really hamper our development and hamper the longevity of our relationships and really how genuine our relationships can be because we have a hard time letting things happen naturally and listening to our instincts. Instead of listening to ourselves, we go outside of our instincts and we look at other people to tell us when this should happen, when that should happen.
Right.
And to me, naturally, we shouldn't have to do that. Now, we have timelines for when we should get married, when should we move in together, when we should have children, when we should have a degree by, and all these things. And I want to propose something as far as relationships and timeline goes. So we talk about when we should say be engaged by or be married by, right?
Mhm.
So in a relationship, let's take our relationship goggles right quick and zoom in on the average relationship. So relationships in the first 3 to 6 months is known as the infatuation stage, or as we call the honeymoon stage.
Right.
And that's when everything seems to be going right. Everybody's in love. Nobody can really do any wrong. He's funny, she's cute. Those little things that will annoy you later down the line. It's cute right now, right? First 3 to 6 months, average.
Uh huh.
Uh, Now, the way I see things, it's really hard to say that I begin to know someone before a year.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay.
And that's because of this average 3 to 6 month stage where we are infatuated. So we are, in a sense, in a fairy tale atmosphere. Now, if after this 3 to 6 months, we begin to see different characteristics of each other that we did not see before, my question is, does that counter start over? Because did I really know you from the beginning, or am I just starting to know you now? What do you think?
I completely agree. I think it takes at least a year, sometimes two, to know somebody for real enough to make a major step. like living together, marriage or whatever. And then, even then, people continue to grow and change and evolve in one way or another. So it really sucks that many people have the idea that once you get to a certain place, you're there forevermore. And relationships of any kind are not like a college degree. It's not like you do your time, you get it, or you get that marriage certificate, and then you're done. People act like they're done with the work. They're done exploring. They're done um, learning about each other or trying, different things or even redefining their relationship because it doesn't look like it did day one, year three, even. Things evolve as they should because people evolve all the time.
True.
Go ahead.
And I tell it, especially to my younger people, I'm glad you brought up becoming different people and evolving because in reality, when we start off, say our late teens, early 20s, well, we cannot expect to be the same person in our late 20s, early 30s.
Right.
And when that happens in a single relationship, you both grow. And a lot of times you grow apart because now you're not the same person and they're not the same person anymore either. And it's a process of knowing yourself and becoming yourself.
Right.
Okay? Because that's why we have these phases in life, the adolescence phase. That's why we have our identity crisis and trying to find out who we are because first we're told who we are, okay, and we're being imposed on, with society telling us who we're supposed to be, and then eventually we become who we decided to be. And
Eventually, if at
yeah,
all.
well, yeah, hopefully. So um, we want to know, is it really valid to have a timeline? And I'm not here to say it is or it is not. But I am saying that we need to keep in mind our individual needs and our individual circumstances. And listening to your instincts to me is always the right thing to do when you're deciding on when is the right time to do what.
Right. I agree. I was hearing some feedback for a second. Let me see here. Okay. Um, uh, instinct, the name of the game. Because the thing, you can create what kind of timeline, whatever timeline you want. Like I can't say, like you say, there's no judgment really. If whether you want it or not, that's fine. That's totally fine. People have all their own, very specific reasons for why they want to do certain things in a certain amount of time. The only thing about that is really it's so important to really take the time to think about your why. Where did this why come from? Where did I learn that this is optimal? Where did I learn that I have to take this ladder? I have to go to school, get a degree, get married, have kids, work a job for 30 years, retire and die. Like that's a typical ladder of progression that we're taught growing up. People about everybody, all kind of people. We're mostly taught that ladder, and so if that's what everybody has been teaching, and what a lot of people are doing, um, yet most of them are failing. I think it is fair to ask the question: is this your why, or is this just something you picked up along the way because it was, you know, pushed on you? I don't pushed on you as harsh because a lot of times it's not even pushed that hard. It's just insinuated like this is what you're supposed to do. You think that's what you're supposed to do, so you just kind of you put things in motion and try to live your life the way it looks on TV or the way your people taught you how to do it. So really going within to say, where did my why come from? Like, why do I even want this to happen this way? Is this really what I want? But sometimes we don't know if it's really what we want because we don't know where our desires are coming from. So where is your desire coming from? And if you know your why, where your why comes from, it's easier to know if that's truly your desire or not. You think that?
And speaking of why, from one thing I noticed is that we all end up hitting this roadblock, right? We get into this jam in their relationships because we're taught a very simple, vanilla formula for life, right? As Lady Wake said, you go to school, you get a degree, you get married, you have your children, and then all we're taught is that we get married, and then we live happily ever after, as the fairy tale goes.
Right.
And we never see what is happily ever after, because that's where we get stuck when you have reached your last goal,
Mhm.
which is to get married. In a lot of cases, where do we go from there? Now you're married, and now you're looking at each other a year or two down the line. Okay, now all the excitement has worn off. All the attention is gone away. Now nobody cares that you're married. Nobody remembers your wedding anymore. All right, now it's on to the next couple. Okay, the next up and coming couple who has their kids and they go and get married, and now you're stuck with each other in a
Right.
legally binding contract, and you don't know where to go because all you were told was that you're going to get married, have kids, get a house, and live happily ever after. But what is that?
Man, listen. What is happily ever after? So, hey ladies, I see y'all. Hey Joan. Hey Stephanie. She says sometimes timelines causes loads of stress that is real, so real. Time in every situation that comes about, timelines are stressful. Unless you're a person who lives like that, but most people don't. Most of us like the freedom of flexibility. We're human beings. We prefer that. So, look, what I put I posted a meme. Now I'm forgetting exactly what it said, but it basically said something like, if you're busy, working on your purpose, you don't have time for distraction, something like that. And I put, yes, even within your relationships, because you touched on this before, Leo, but I think it's worth going a little deeper into what is your collective purpose? What are you working towards? What are your goals? How are you building? Because most people, as you said, they get to the happily ever after, and they don't know what the heck that is. What is this? This is just darkness, loss. And so then what happens is people get lost in everything outside of their actual relationship. So they're lost in their kids, and people always want to fight me about kids, but that is not a part of your actual intimate relationship with your partner. That's a separate relationship within your family. But kids won't keep you together. We know that's the truth. People
Yeah.
get involved with their work, of course. They get involved with looking like the perfect couple in public versus
Right.
truly being connected and being a team, whatever that means for them. Even knowing what the heck that means for them. Most people have no idea what it means to be a team with their partner. And
That's true.
that's usually because they don't know where their why is coming from.
I agree. They don't know where their why is coming from, and as we already suggested, a lot of us are getting our ideas from outside. We're getting our ideas from the television. We're getting it from our computer screen, looking at everyone else. And let's be honest here. It's not very popular to hold a relationship together anymore. It's not popular to have your family together anymore. What's more popularized is broken families, broken relationships, and an individual attitude that I only care about me, that I am a savage, that I am heartless, okay, and I don't care about anybody. And guess what? I'm going to do my own thing within this relationship, and if you don't like it, too bad, I'll find another relationship.
Savage.
Let's be
Well,
honest. And this
let's be honest.
part,
I can't argue with that. People think it's cute to be savage, And it's a weird thing because it's not that they don't want relationships, but people are so damaged and scared that they rather put up this tough act and be an asshole, be savage, act like they're an individual because none of us are. We're human beings. We only work because we have each other. We would have nothing without each other. We wouldn't have commerce. We wouldn't have relationships. We wouldn't have new people to born. Nothing. So that's a very valid point. And and just to put a different spin on it, because we talk a lot about how a lot of our ideas are not our own. They come from media, and there's something called, or there's a such thing as being addicted to dopamine. And so dopamine is that chemical that is natural in your body, but it's that chemical that makes you feel happy, makes you feel pleasure. And so people get addicted to dopamine, and that feels great at first, but after a while it's almost like chasing a high. And it's like the dopamine can give you pleasure, but it also kind of urges you to go on that chase and do whatever that thing was that made you happy, and do whatever it takes to find it, right? So if you're a person who is already damaged and not sure of who you are, what you want, and you thrive off negativity, that makes you happy. It sounds kind of weird, but it does make you happy. And so your dopamine levels are like, hey, we want some more of that. Go search social media and find somebody to talk about. Find a way to be petty. Start fights with your mate, or whatever. Like whatever it is that works for you, even though it is not really working for you, is not working in your favor. It's negative, so to speak. But whatever works for you that creates or recreates that dopamine release, we go for, we search for, because people don't understand the balance of doing something that makes you happy, something that creates pleasure, but doing it in a way that is good for you in the long run.
Absolutely.
And I always have to put asterisks by my comments because nothing is wrong. There, like, even if your life is the worst it can be, even if you're at rock bottom, nothing is wrong with what's going on in your life, because it's only going to create more desire for what you really want. So it's like you can't get it wrong. Like, no, you'll be all right eventually, but you can get it right a lot faster if you decide to. Okay, something.
Yes. And we like to chase what I call a synthetic high, because it's not even a real high, but we're so busy with so many distractions, we really don't have any discipline or focus to sit down and see a goal from its beginning to its end. And I would like to offer this, just as in our personal lives, in our relationship lives.
Hmm.
Sometimes when things just seem too good to be true, we get scared and we say, man, this is going too well.
Yeah.
I gotta ruin it. I
Yeah.
have to sabotage this, because we don't know what success looks like, even in our professional lives. If you have never really been around success, okay, and you start to see success, you see a window of opportunity for yourself. A lot of us, in the name of comfort, we will avoid that opportunity. And we will say, no, that can't be me. I can't be this happy. I can't go this far. I can't be this successful. And we start to doubt ourselves and say, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if I fall? You know what I mean? And we start to subconsciously sabotage, and that manifests itself into a physical sabotage, because that's where our comfort zone is. Our comfort zone is to not succeed and to be averaging like everyone else, so that we can relate on that level.
Man, self sabotage. So real. And it is as powerful as an addiction. I mean, a real addiction, not coffee, heroin. It is powerful. Yo, because half the time, most times, we have no idea that we're doing that. No
Right.
idea. And then even if we know, how do you turn it around?
Mm.
Hey y'all, I see you. Hey ladies. Hey Shonda. Hey Yoli. How do you turn it around? Even if you know what's going on, you know you get to a point and you're kind of deliberately, and maybe you don't necessarily want to, but it's like you have more momentum in the sabotage direction than you do the trust direction, so you're just like, well, this looks too good to be true, like you said, which is I, I can't say how many just kind of false, premises there are in that statement, but another time. The whole statement is false. It's a false premise in itself. But we see that this looks too good to be true because I've seen before, mostly on TV, or I heard somebody say, because they had a bad experience about something, and now I have to protect myself. This is completely fake, of course, because nothing is happening to you. Nothing is happening to me in this moment. Everything I want is going down, right? But
Right.
I have to protect myself because at any moment, this person who seems to be loving me so much can be just get me. Like they can be out to get me, and I'll end up dead. I don't know. It feels extreme, but it is real. It happens like that, and on both ends. Because I think back and I'm like, even sometimes I used to be of the mindset that you could love somebody through something. And I think you can on some level, but not with the expectation of literally loving them through something. You can be who you are, you can be loving, you can be everything you are and maintain that even if your partner changes. But you can't force anybody to accept love. So on both ends, if you're in a position where you're not able to receive, you got some issues. And if you are only giving to people who aren't able to receive, you got the same issues. That's amazing to me. But I realized that one day, I was just like, man, you think you're doing something special? Nope. Because you're attracting the same thing they're attracting because you have the same issue. And it's a matter of breaking it down. I read a book. I still have it. I probably have it on audiobook, so I listen to it over and over. But it's called The Upper Limit. And I'm blanking on the author's name right now. But it basically talks about self sabotage. When you get to a place in your life where you are creating or receiving more than you've ever had before, or feeling something more than you've ever felt before in a good way, and you do something like start an argument, get sick, because our mind is directly connected to our body. You get physically sick. You have an argument with somebody, usually somebody close to you. You make a big mistake on something, all because you are subconsciously self sabotaging yourself because it feels too good to be true. It's a
Too
condition.
good. It is, and it's a tough condition to be in, and that's why it's important that we surround ourselves with more like-minded people, more positive people, and people who we believe in and who believe in us.
Mm-hmm.
Because I come to you as a sinner, not a saint. A lot of stuff we talk about is because we've seen it. Okay. And I have to check myself sometimes, even in my personal life, my professional life. I will feel like, man, I'm really soaring right now. I'm really going upward. And then I would get paranoid, like, man, what if it all goes wrong? You know what I mean? And, sometimes some things we talk about, my sister and you know, I will hit a little roadblock and I'll be like, oh man, I don't know about this. And my sister would be like, oh, just go around. You got this. You know what I mean? Or the other way around. She may have a goal and then see a roadblock and I'm just like, oh, that ain't nothing. Just keep going. You got it. You know what I mean? And we do it to ourselves constantly because we haven't seen it a lot of times, close enough to us, close enough to our families where we are comfortable on that level in that lane because to us, we're in a new lane. We're on a new level now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we're just, wow, it's lonely up here. You know what I mean? There's nobody to hold my hand right now. You know
Man.
what I mean? It's literally me. And, God forbid you told somebody about what you're trying to do, because you know how some people are. They're waiting for you to not do what you said you wanted to do.
Mhm.
And that's the importance of having good company. You know what I mean? And good support.
I can't agree more. And that all falls into place within your relationship too. Because
Yeah.
you can't tell everybody your business. And then a lot of times people choose to tell those who are closest to them, like maybe their best friend or something. And sometimes that works, but sometimes it does not. Sometimes you still, even your best friend, you can't tell them everything because you know how they are. You know she ignorant, or you know he only got half a, like you should know, you should take the time to pay attention to the people around you who are closest to you and figure out how far how far they'll go for you or how much they're really for you. That's probably a better way to say it. Um, and to no fault of their own, people have their own issues, and so sometimes they just don't have the capacity. Sometimes they don't have the understanding. Sometimes they don't have the knowledge. There's a
Right.
whole gamut of reasons, but to know the difference in who can do what for you is majorly important. And of course, it has to be reciprocal. So you need to know who you are and what you can give to the other person. And so I was thinking as you were talking about basically my dismissive attitude about issues. I practiced that. I practiced having a dismissive attitude about issues. I practice it. Like I'm not always great at it, but I practice it on purpose. And that is important in relationships too, because people go through stuff, people change, people try to figure out who they are over and over and over again throughout the course of their life. And I remember being in high school having this mentor. um when I was in high school, she was like 70 years old, and she and her husband were married 50 plus years. And she say, we don't argue, like we've never had an argument. And usually if you hear somebody say that they've never had an argument with their partner, you're like, oh well, that's not a healthy relationship. That's the worst. You're supposed to argue a little, like you're supposed to at least know what an argument feels like with each other. Yeah, like come on. And she's like, nope, we don't argue ever. So I'm like, I'm a teenager. I know everything. That makes no sense. So what do you mean you don't argue? Everybody argues. What do you do then? Well, we disagree sometimes, but we'll have a conversation. And if it seems like he's getting too upset or I'm getting too upset, we'll walk away and be quiet. And I'm like, okay. And what next? Because it
Okay.
doesn't go away, right? Like you got to come back. You say something eventually, and she's like, no, you don't. You leave it right there, and eventually, what happens is it fixes itself. Dismiss it. She was just like, huh. And that was amazing to me because one, I didn't believe it was real because I just couldn't fathom that being like a possibility. And now I
Right.
find myself practicing that, and I have the highest level of peace I've ever had in life. In life, Leo, for real. And people think I'm crazy. Like my friends would be like, "You not upset about that? You still talk to this person? You still hang out?" And whoever it is, my exes, family members, people who, it looks like I should probably not deal with them at all. I'm peaceful. Oh, good. That has
Yeah.
nothing to do with me. That's their problem, not mine.
True.
But it's amazing that too good to be true is not a real thing,
Right.
unless you're watching a
And
horror movie.
hey, listen, we got to remember that it's always about an exchange of energy. And guess what? When someone has all this negative energy and they don't know what to do with it, they're going to send it your way. And guess what? When you return negative energy, you're just feeding their negative energy.
Yes,
To use the earth method, you know what I mean? Your energy is going to stay there because I'm not accepting it. you know. And like you said, with some of your friends and things like that, that's how people are. They're like, oh, well, what are you going to say? What you going to say back? And I'd be like, nothing. And they're like, oh, man, you're an asshole. And I'm like, true. But it's
Yes.
because
Yes.
it doesn't always warrant a response. And especially in your relationship, as we mentioned before, you have to protect each other and you have to remember what you mean to each other.
Right.
And you are not supposed to go at it like people in the streets anyway. A lot of times it's best to just leave it alone. You don't
Right.
always have to respond to each other. We don't always have to stay angry, you know, until something happens, you know, involuntarily.
Mhm.
And I really like what, you learn in high school because it's possible. And the problem is when we don't think it's possible, that's where we fail because we think our only choice is conflict.
Right. Oh my goodness, Joe, that just reminded me.
Wow.
Even, and I should say, especially within conflict, people have these crazy timelines for that kind of stuff too. You
Oh,
did this level thing that made me upset. I'm not gonna talk to you for this. Like people think it's fun. It's cute, rather I should say. I'm just gonna
right.
ghost you for 2 days because you made me mad. You don't know what you did. I didn't tell you. I didn't explain it to you. I didn't tell you hurt my feelings, anything. But because my feelings are hurt, boo boo, you got 2 days of silence from me. Don't be like living together. Oh, now you get to not have sex for 2 weeks, or cook your own dinner, or
Yeah. Sleep in
that's
separate rooms, not talk to each other.
right. Like I know I usually do this in the house. I usually do the laundry, or I usually clean the snow off your car. Not today. You piss me off.
Oh, yeah.
We take that mess home and say, and we have an idea of this grievance leads to this limit of time for me being upset, and if you don't fix it in time, that's going to be extended. Like it's a bunch of games,
True.
childish games, of course, but it makes
You.
people feel more secure. It makes them feel safer in a sense, because they feel like they have some control over how things are flowing. You speak to that, Leo?
Yes, absolutely. And to me, that goes along the lines of what I'm talking about as far as protecting each other, and protecting your relationship. Because a lot of times we like to weaponize our energy against each other and weaponize our services and what we bring to each other. And, we sit at the table like we're Democrats and Republicans, like, okay, well, I need you to go build this wall. You know what I'm saying? In order for me to approve this budget. If not, ain't no dealing. We just gonna sit here and everybody starve. You
Right.
know what I mean? And we act more as enemies than allies. And I don't believe that's a healthy way to deal with things. And I don't think that is forward thinking for relationship. There has to be easier ways to deal with issues. And as we just stated a few minutes ago, sometimes it's just worth walking away, and you can come back and reconvene later, or you can just leave it where it is.
Mhm.
But it happens far too much. And the thing is, if you have ever been to counseling for relationship counseling or family counseling, what you will learn is that a lot of people will internalize things that you do and they will hold on to that forever. And guess what? I mentioned before back in our part one, I believe, our relationship series, sometimes you will be sleeping with your enemy and you will not know it. Imagine being at war and you have no clue. Somebody's at war with you, but you don't know about it because
Yeah.
they have organized their energy and their services toward you because of something that happened 2 years ago. Okay. And you have no idea. And in their mind, they're still punishing you for that. Because guess what? It was never resolved in their mind. It's real.
Damn. That's painful. That is so real.
It's
So
true.
real. And they will be doubting you and pulling you down with their energy in their mind in
Yeah.
every area of your life.
Yep.
They'll be rooting for you to fail.
Sometimes it's just something you
Wow.
said that they like or that bothered them, but it was never really brought up. Sometimes you never had a chance to even straighten it out.
Mhm.
And that's why we work against each other a lot and our relationships do not work because how can anybody operate like that?
Man, that's so real. It's incredibly sad, but it is real. It is our daily reality out here. Wow.
Because that is our only sense of power and empowerment is negative reinforcement. We've never heard of positive reinforcement. We've never heard of talking things out, communicating. It gets thrown around lightly in vain, but very few of us actually practice it and put it to use for the best of our relationship.
Right. For the best, because because people will communicate and
Yeah,
say they're talking it out and try to get to the bottom of things and what can we do, and the entire time you're having a conversation, maybe you're having a back and forth, but the whole time you're having a conversation, what they're really trying to do is make you as angry as they are, or make you feel as hurt as they felt, or worse, um, or just make you agree with them, which is not constructive either. And so the art of
true.
communication is just that. It's an art. It's a huge deal, but it's not something people practice a lot in a positive way. So usually, by the time we get to a point where we're having a tense conversation or even a real argument, a disagreement of any sort, we are almost immediately just taken back to where our momentum is, that negative conversation, that degrading back and forth instead
Right.
of trying to find a true solution.
Yeah. And I think um, a big um, fix is that throughout our relationships, we need to also remember the positive. And you know what? Your partner needs to know what are they doing that you do like? What are they doing that is right in
Right.
your eyes? And if we did that as much as we talked about what we don't like, then I think we could appreciate each other more. And
Exactly.
yeah, and that goes, with all types of relationships, even with my son or my daughter, if I'm getting on them about, a C on their report card, sometimes I have to draw back and say, you know what? Let me let them know that first of all, I'm proud of you for the A's and B's.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna bust your head about this C, but you're doing a great job, with these
Right.
A's and B's,
Right.
and we just need to work on this minor problem here,
Mhm.
because we take small problems and we turn them into big problems. And when people don't feel appreciated, you know, that's a totally different orientation and they put off a different type of energy
Right.
because after a while they feel hopeless. Like, well, why do I try if all you see is what I do wrong? Why
Right.
should I try to do right or why should I try to do good things for you?
Yes. That's so real. That's so real. The and I guess I was gonna say I don't know why, but that's not true. It's learned behavior. So the idea of when somebody has made you upset, the idea of telling them what you like about them is so hard for people. It's like all I can see is this one area where you messed up. Now in all these other 99 areas, you're a great partner, but in this area, you made me mad today, and now the person has tunnel vision, and that is incredible focus. If you think about it, if you think about how powerful that is, that focus where you can ignore 100 things your mate has done, let's say in a month, and then this one day they just got on your nerves so bad, and now all you can see for the next 3 months is this one day where they got on your nerves so bad. That's incredible focus. And if it can be turned around, if we can focus toward the positive more than the negative, if we can have that nonchalant, dismissive attitude about that one area and focus on the other 99 areas, or even if it's half and half, if it's 50% of the time they get on your nerves and the other 50% of the time they're great, you are still winning. Focus on that 50% of the time that they're great, and you'll tip it to 51. Then you'll tip it to 55. That's how energy works. You get what you give your attention to. Joe,
Yes.
time is flying. Go ahead. What are you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, that comes with knowing each other because I think most people thrive on positive reinforcement, and then you have a small number of people who, unfortunately, they need negative reinforcement for them to act right. And you have to ask yourself, do I need this in my life?
Right.
Because you're going to be stressed out. But seriously, some people, whatever happened in their life, wherever their journey has brought them to where they are today, they only respond to negativity.
Right.
There are
Just
people
like
like that.
kids. You know what happens? Like a kid does. They do something negative, they get some attention, they figure, oh, that works. So they keep doing it. Adults do the same thing. If it worked before, they're gonna keep trying it because they want attention.
It's true, and that can be overstated, and that's why you have to know each other. But I don't really see a good reason to hang on to a relationship like that, where you have to constantly beat each other up in order to get any response out of each other. But my point is, we have to know each other and how we respond. And it's not always just a positive or negative thing, but it's just like there's some book that people have been passing around for a handful of years called the Five Love Languages, where
Yeah.
it's being more specific about, you know, who, what type of person you are, how do you respond, and also how do you relate to other people? What's your way of giving yourself to other people? A lot of times we have to learn those specifics. Okay, this is the way my partner shows appreciation or shows affection
Right.
or show love. This is the way I show it. And now we have to see how do we make that fit.
Right.
Fit.
Right. How do we allow it to fit? Because if you're forcing it, move on. Keep it moving.
Yeah,
It should be fluid. You should be able to allow yourself to receive and give love. Man,
that's true.
Joe, I'm so sad the time has moved so quickly. You reminded
Hey,
me of something though. I'm gonna share this one story, and then I'm gonna let you give some closing comments. I don't see any
okay.
questions. If y'all got questions, send them in. I don't see any right now. So you reminded me, because you were talking about, just kind of holding on to stuff, and I heard a story, and I'm gonna get it half wrong, but the essence of the story is this: there were some monks walking along a trail, and they were like silent monks. They're not really open to people. They're not supposed to touch people. So one monk along the way, he picked up this little girl and he carried her part of the way down the trail. And another monk, the others saw him do this. They didn't say anything at the time. But then 50 miles later, one monk is like, "You shouldn't have done that. We're not supposed to touch women," and blah blah blah. "You shouldn't have carried that girl. That wasn't right. You're a monk. You're not supposed to do that." And he replied, "Well, you still carrying that girl? I put her down 49 miles ago. Why you still carrying her? Like, you are still carrying the fact that I carried that child for 1 mile. She gone, long gone. Why are you still there?" And I heard it and I was like, man, that is amazing on many levels because that's how we act all the time towards each other. We don't even look to see, like, somebody start doing something. Maybe they're having a moment. We don't know because we don't look to see what happened. We don't look to see if there was a moment, if it was a permanent change. What does that mean to them? We have no idea. That monk didn't even look back and notice he had been put the kid down. But
Right.
he was just mad about it, just quiet and mad for 50 miles, yo. You quiet and mad for 50 miles, people will be quiet and mad for 50 years. and giving you low blows all along the way, and you have no idea why you got all these spiritual knives in your back and in your throat and in your heart, and you out here struggling. You crawling to the next destination, bleeding out, and don't even
True.
know why, because you're not paying attention to what's really in your inner circle.
Those are facts.
Just
And
saying.
oh man, it happens all the time. That is true, and you may never know. You know what I mean? Till the very end. And you know what I would like to say. I know we're getting ready to go. Is that I'm a big proponent of taking care of yourself first. We've already mentioned this on the show. And, you know, just speaking of these energies that we exchange and this negative energy that we may come across from our partners, I think that sometimes we'd be better off if we just learn how to block people out for the moment
Yeah.
and just like, all right, you know what I'm saying? You're killing my vibe. I'm going to just keep going this way. You know what I mean? We don't always have to argue or fight, but remember, your peace is of utmost importance because if you don't have peace, you cannot provide peace.
Exactly.
All right. And you cannot thrive that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta shut them out. I don't care who it is, your parents, your kids, your coworkers. Sometimes you just be like, you know what? I'm not doing this today.
Exactly.
Get up. You get up out there, leave me alone. You know what I'm saying?
Shoot, if you got kids, pay attention to them. They do it all the time. The little ones should just be like, you be
Right.
calling their name 5 times. They busy. I'm not listening to you today. Good at it. Take notes. Just saying. That's real, Joe. Okay, look, we're gonna have to end today. Um, but we have so much more to talk about. So we'll be back next Monday right here on the Lady Wake Facebook page at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Um, I don't know what we're going to pick up next week with. I'm assuming we'll start talking about simps, as Leo calls them.
Oh
And he'll explain to you next week what that means. So I'm gonna, in between time, in the meantime, I'm gonna invite as many men as I can, and you all invite men too, because they need to hear
man.
this too. You know, we're a team. We work together. We can't do anything alone. Men versus women. I mean, there's no versus. There is a and, not an or. So that's what we're gonna close on today. And next week, Monday, 8 p.m. right here, we'll see you again. Thanks for being here, Leo.
Okay.
Until
Definitely.
next time. Peace, y'all.